Hello, and welcome to the intro of my new series, SMTtheology. This series will center on the discussion of religious themes in media, specifically the Shin Megami Tensei series. And we're not going to get into that right now, but this video is meant to be more like some context into why I started the series and context for the subject as a whole. So this series started as a sort of rebuttal to the fan reception of the Shin Megami Tensei 4 Archangels, and that will still be the first episode of this series. But when I first started writing it, I had this really bad issue where I would keep going into tangents, and I couldn't make it like a cohesive video, So I figured this would be a good way for me to be able to go into more depth into each topic, and even branch out into more related topics later. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, I'm just gonna say, I am no theologian. I have no degree, I'm just a guy who reads books. So definitely, if you're into the topic, be sure to go out your way to check my sources and fact check, if you can't tell I'm off script right now. So as we move forward, I wanted to give some context to my audience that doesn't have much experience with theology. Theology being the study of religion. And I will ask you all to please remove your preconceptions. And keep in mind that culture, or religion, like culture, is fluid. That is to say that whatever belief system someone has is based on their previous experiences and their personal opinions, And you might think it's obvious, but the issue with this is that as laymen, we may have issues with seeing it like this for certain social structures. And we might not realize that they might not be standard for everyone in every different time period or every different country or something. And so this is an important issue when discussing the Bible, because we have to realize it's not a cohesive work. And I don't mean that to insult somebody, but the way it was written is, not written, let me say rather, it was compiled by a bunch of authors, and it's a series of texts written by people who are hundreds, arguably thousands of years apart, depending on, your faith or whatever. And when we consider that the Jews had a history of oral tradition, like for instance, Native Americans. But this means that for a lot of texts in the Bible, there's some parts where you need context for specific things that you might not know in other parts, or it's not just one A to Z work. It's you need to understand the time they're written in, the context, the religious history of the area, to have a real understanding of the book. For example, let's look at the first depiction of an angel in the Bible. It's in Genesis 3:24, and it reads, "So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim, and a flaming sword was turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life." And if this is your first time reading the Bible, and you had no idea of Christianity or Judaism or Islam or whatever, you'd be like, what is that? You wouldn't know what a cherub is, for good reason too, because if we go farther, a cherub isn't mentioned again for another 10 books. So it's just, you need to be looking at different texts, because you can't just look at the Bible. You can't look at the Bible in a vacuum. This is why we have theologians try to explain and flesh out and discern new concepts from Scripture. And this kind of leads to a sense of all interpretations being valid. And I feel like making this more clear is important, because you've at least heard of some Christians that are very my way or the highway, or they don't recognize any other sect or denomination that's not theirs, And I'm trying to get that out the way right now. So keep in mind that whatever I might be talking about in the video might not be the version of religion you're familiar with, might be some other version. For example, in the SMT series, it has a lot of themes of Gnosticism in it. And if you're looking for cohesiveness with Gnosticism in your typical Baptist church or whatever, you're not going to find that there. That's basically it. But for future reference for this series, I'm probably going to stick to Abrahamic stuff Judaism, Christianity, Islam, because that's what I know, that's what I'm familiar with to a degree. But I'm fine with going over to, Vedic stuff, Zoroastrianism, I don't know, what's the word? I might even do other series too, because I like SMT, because it has a lot of themes that I enjoy reading about, and the atmosphere too, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But I'm fine with going to series Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, something. anything that's interesting, I'm cool with. So that's the gist. Next video will be the biblical accuracy of the Shin Megami Tensei 4 Archangels. And as I'm recording this video, I have just finished the script a couple days ago, and I'm editing it right now. Well, editing the images for it. I haven't actually recorded the script yet. Hopefully it'll get out soon, you know. Last one took like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, something like that. I hope this seems faster though, but it is twice as long. The script is about twice as long as the old script, and that was like 18 minutes or so. This one might be like probably around 30 or so. Depends how fast I talk, but you know how that is.